Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Today we're going to take a little time and we're going to talk about some of those things that we might carry on our EDC. Maybe not every day, maybe every day, depending on how you carry. But different things besides knives, besides folders, besides slip joints, besides fixed blades. I just thought I'd run through a few things that I carry, starting with some of my little pry bars. Before we get started, guys, I'll ask real quickly, if you would, please hit that subscribe button below and the bell notification icon. They really help the channel out. Speaking of helping the channel out, I want to thank every one of my channel members. I appreciate you guys more than you know. You guys give me the steam to keep it up and make it go on, and I appreciate that. It's encouraging. But when I look at EDC items that I carry besides my knives, there are two that probably get carried, or I'd say three that probably get carried more than any others in my EDC. And those are going to be a flashlight, ink pen, and EDC pry bar. So the way we'll start this out is I'll just show you a few of each of these categories and why I like them. Starting off with this little Maverick simple pry bar. I specifically picked this simple pry bar out because it didn't have the bottle opener on it. I don't drink anymore and rarely use bottles. When I do, I can pop them like I used to just by using a pry bar like that or using it like that. So I didn't need that little doodad to kind of snag. But what I did like about this is it did have the pocket clip. So this pry bar I can either carry in my front pocket, in my back pocket, in my shirt pocket. It's a little shorter pry bar. I want to say it's 4 inches. Yeah, it's 4 inch pry bar. Really has a nice defined edge down here. Oops, Tippy's gonna walk by. I apologize, guys. But it has a really sharp bevel down there, so it can get under things. It's great for scraping. I've used it to get stickers off. I've used it as a screwdriver. There's just a lot that you can use it for. So it's light. It doesn't take up a lot of room in pocket. It does have a place for you to put a lanyard and a doodad if that makes it easier for you to get in or out of your pocket. But this little Maverick, made in the USA, kind of understated pry bar is a good one that I carry quite a bit. Moving on in pry bars, I've got this little small pry bar that's a pocket dropper. It's also rides in one of my bug out bags or one of my little man purses, if you will. It has a little lanyard on it. It has a little tritium vial in it. I don't know if you can see that under the light, but it does have a tritium vial. It does have a nice little pry with a couple of areas that you can also use as a screwdriver. It does have a can opener. It is a much smaller pry, so for one that you can just drop in your pocket or put in a slip, it's 3 inches overall. So it's by no means big and brutish, but it's definitely effective for if you need a small pry bar or if you need a small flathead. And I like it. Glow Rhino, another titanium pry. Just been a good one. So moving on, we go to probably one of the most ridiculous ones that I picked up because the look intrigued me and I had no idea how big it was. It looks more like a tongue depressor than a pry bar, but it's also a Slurpee saver. It can be used as a deterrent. It can be used as a bolt opener for multiple sizes of bolts. You've got this gradated size. I think starts down at a 1/4 inch and works up from there. It does have dual can openers. It does have this finger hole, and it has this very, very pronounced, I don't know if you can see the milling on this, but you've got milling on both of these flats. And this is not sharp, but it is very, very thin. It's probably one of the thinner pries that I've got. And right behind that, it's 0.0390. So granted, it's not sharp. You could definitely open a box with it. You could definitely In worst case scenario, use it as a Slurpee saver, to quote Lefty. But it's a bigger pry bar. I don't carry it that much with me on the daily. It says Pioneer EDC Design by Tucson. So, take that for what it will. It's got these little ribs here that look like you could stick something in them, maybe tritium vials, but don't really know much about that. I know that this lives also in one of my man purses in a bug out bag, and I just break it out when I'm camping or if I'm somewhere where I've got that bag with me and I need it and I'm not carrying a pry bar. So moving on, we've got this little pretty cool TNP that I got from EMP EDC Design Company. Not EMP EDC, that's John and Jamie Rust. They're on the brain. Love EMP EDC. This came from Urban EDC Co. It's a Sigali pattern, little kind of understated pry bar. Again, doesn't have a coat or a cap lifter, which is by design. I chose one without a cap lifter. It does have a really nice pocket clip. It does have a place for a lanyard if you want it. And it's got a great little pry area. It's light, goes in and out of pocket with ease. It does have this feature that I thought was kind of gimmicky until I used it a few times. You've got this little area on the clip here that you can fit a bit in. So granted, the bit will fall out, but if you're going to put pressure on something or to torque on something, this works very well for that. So as last ditch effort bit driver, if you, like me, also in your man purse carry your little bits in a titanium kit or in another kit, that bit driver on that TMP from Urban EDC Co. works really well. I think it's a nice made tie bar, feels good, seems to pry well, hadn't gotten a ton of wear and tear, but it has been used. So I really like that one too. Probably brings me to my favorite and my most carried, and that is my Vero Fulcrum. My Vero Fulcrum is great because it's just really got two good purposes. It's got a nice clip. This is the full size pry, which I think comes in at 5 inches, 5 1/4. But what's really cool about this is you've got these little bands here. You can remove these bands, which will allow you to get one of these bits out. I keep a T6 and a T8, I think. Yeah, so I can take the T8. I can put it in that little driver holder at the back. Cover my bits up here. And then I've got a bit driver, however I need it. And I could carry different bits on here, but the T6 and the T8 seem to be the ones that I encounter most on my setups when I need to just give something a little tighten. Sometimes I'll carry the Phillips screwdriver head in the main hole here, but typically I'll carry it just like this. I don't carry anything right there because I've usually got something else with a Phillips head if I need it. But the Vero Fulcrum or the Mini Fulcrum, I can highly recommend. I've heard the bits are a little more tricky to get out on the Mini Fulcrum, but the full-size Fulcrum has served me very well, gets a lot of use, gets a lot of pocket time, and I really dig it. So moving on from there, guys, we'll look to another EDC item that most of us carry pretty much on the daily. And me, I've got a few, nothing fancy, EDC pins. I think I've gifted as many as I've kept, but I've got all of them are bolt actions. I've got a tactile turn, rock wall. I've got a little Civivi bolt action pin. This is kind of one that goes in a bug out bag. It's light titanium. It's not as nice. And then I've got a flame tie Tucson pin that's really cool. It's got a tritium insert there on the pocket clip, and the pocket clip works really well on this. I keep this in my backpack for work along with this refined Co titanium pin that's a little bit shorter, but I really like that too. So pins are something that every day I'm going to have on me. It might not be mounted on my shirt. It may be mounted in my backpack. It may be in my man purse. I always carry a field book, and I'll either carry my field book with my little leather holder that also has an EDC bolt action pin in it. So something to write with is going to be either in my camp bag or in my glove compartment or in my backpack. That's just kind of part of it for me. Again, when you get to weird EDC items, things that I'll carry on my pack, I like these little various split O-rings, carabiner type rings. For this one, I keep this small Mini Pro mini paracord dispenser. It's got a cutter on it, carries, about 150 feet of paracord. I've also got one that carries full size paracord. And then I've got a bunch of these little different carabiner clips, just depending on what I'm going to clip to my pack or to my bag or to my belt loop. They're just handy whether you're carrying keys or anything else. And I like these little titanium ones. So then we kind of move on to flashlights. So the flashlight that I carry probably the most with me is my little Dapper Ion. I love this little light. It's super small. It's got a magnetic tailpiece. It's got a real nice pocket clip. It's USB rechargeable. I barely even feel this light when I've got it in my pocket. It's plenty bright for things I'm going to do with it, but it's not one I'm going to take on a camp out and use to get up and down the trail, right? But it is a great EDC flashlight. I carry this one probably the most. Thanks, Lefty, for the recommendation. And then I picked up one of these kind of creepy UV lights that you can take with you when you go to hotel rooms to look at the blood splatter on the wall and the other scenes of the crime. This is the Olight I5 UV EOS. I don't know if they still make this light, but they make lights similar to it. For something that doesn't require recharging, I've got another little 3T EOS, just a little white light. Olight with a nice clip that you can mount either way. It does have the tail clip instead of a magnetic clip, but that's a good little EDC flashlight, as is my little stream light. This little stream light's a rechargeable, has a USB-C port there, does have the tail cap, very light, very thin. It probably gets carried second only to my Dapper Designs because it is a great little light and it'll hold a charge for a couple of days and you can recharge it in less than an hour or so. But then we go on camping trips and I've got a bunch of lights that are kind of bigger, that are kind of set up for when you need to either put out a big spot like this lamp here. This is the MagTech light. I've got a couple of these guys, or Martech, I'm sorry. I've got one that only has two beams and it has a glowing bezel. Really cool. It's more of a throw light, where this titanium light's more of a spotlight. So it's got a bunch of different settings, but it is very bright. And then I've got the Warrior Pro, which is kind of a tubular light. And then I've got this small Olight Baton 3 that I carry quite a bit when I'm camping because it does have a very bright throw light. But it's small, it's rechargeable, kind of handy. So those are just a few of the lights that I've got in my collection and things that I do carry EDC from time to time. Moving on, we get into kind of some of the different stuff. I call it different stuff like that, stuff like that, stuff like that, that, and that, which this is basically fire starter stuff, guys. This is a little dry storage tube, titanium tube that I can keep my fire starting materials in, my tinder in, some of my store-bought fire starting stuff. This is a great place to keep it. Then I've got this Titan Light from Exceed. It is a Zippo, for lack of a better term, but it's a Zippo that has O-rings, so you don't lose any fuel with this. You don't get any evaporation. And if you do, I've got this little Zippo fuel container that goes also in my backpack, where you can take this off to add fuel to your lighter, or you can unscrew it here to add fuel to this. Again, this does not evaporate because it's got gaskets. So once you put your fuel in here, your liquid fuel, and you hang it in your bug out bag, it's also got a flint holder for a replacement flint and a little fire striker, which brings us to these. Usually I use a knife with these with a 90-degree angle, but these are ferro rods. They work very, very well to throw sparks on. You can tell this one's been used quite a bit to throw sparks on tinder, on materials that you're trying to burn. This is a larger ferro rod, and these do come with the actual striker. So this one here, for example, if I didn't have my knife, I can use this right here. If I need to get a spark, or if I want to use my bigger ferro rod here, you can throw sparks with that too. So anyway, I keep these guys in my bug out bag because, again, you're not sure when you're going to need them. Hopefully you're never going to need them because you'll be able to just balls up with your lighter. But if not, you never know. Better safe than sorry. And this one pops out somehow. I forget exactly how this one pops out because it's got a striker on it right here too. So if I don't have my knife with me, or a knife that will work for me, I can pop this little guy out right here, and I can use that as a striker on this ferro rod. So, I think you always want to be prepared to be able to start a fire if you need to. And then I carry some random stuff. I got this at CountyCom. I love this pin, which is really a bit driver. I carry this in one of my man purses that has my T6. It has my T10, has my T8, and then it has my T20 for my Medfords. So basically, 99% of the knives in my collection I can maintain with this one tool and these 3 bits. And I'm glad to see that a lot more knives are coming with just T8 bits. And then I picked up this little guy. This is a little Tie Designs EDC flipper utility knife. So it does have a frame lock. It does operate on bearings, and it does use reusable blades. So I've got a box of little reusable blades in my pack, and I carry this knife in my pack. It does have a clip, so if I ever need to make quick cuts out in the woods or wherever I am, that comes in handy. And then I also have this little knife and this little scalpel, and I've got a whole pack of different scalpel blades that are sealed up. They're sanitary, number 24s, number 11s, and some others. Should I ever need to do any work out in the woods, should I ever need to do any detail cuts, or heaven forbid, do any type of stick removal or, nasty first aid, right? So I keep this little scalpel in my bag, and I keep a little clear bag full of these pre-sealed scalpel blades. So if I ever needed to get into a first aid situation or needed a fresh blade to dress some game or something like that, I've got plenty of them. And then lastly, that we'll talk about today on my EDC that you don't hear me talk about a lot are multi-tools. So I don't do a lot of multi-tools. I've thought about getting an ASK knife from our brother Greg Medford, because I think those knives are really, really cool. But what I use most often, I don't use a Swiss Army knife. I bought kind of the most minimal Leatherman I could get that had a bit driver. So this is the Leatherman Skeletal. It's got the pliers, it's got the wire cutters, and it's got the bit driver. So as you guys know, these bits are removable. This Skeletal carries a separate bit right here. It also has a carabiner so you can hook it to your pack. I bought the Leatherman bit kit. So I've got all the different bits that I use, from my Torx bits to my, wow, why am I going blank on my other little rectangular bits? To my flat bits, to my fillet bits. And then, you know, if I need a knife, and if I need a knife with serrations, I've got this little hollow grind here as part of my Leatherman. It's a locking knife. I did choose the one with serrations because the way I use this knife that I keep in my pack, it's one that I thought, if I'm ever going to use serrations, if I'm ever going to pull this knife out and use this as a knife, it better have serrations, right? Because all my other knives don't. So this is the Leatherman Skeletal. Again, it lives in one of my bug out bags, but really dig it. Just some of my different EDC items, guys. Just different stuff that I carry besides just my knife. Let me know what you guys carry. Tippy says, hey. If you get a chance and you hadn't yet, please hit the subscribe button below, guys. I ask you because it helps the channel. And then please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. Thank you again, channel members. I love you all. Peace.